The legend says there is a box of tapes with Syd Barrett's recordings. What could have happened to those recordings is what we will try to figure out now.
For people that got into Pink Floyd at that point and were listening to those records first, and what they knew that there had been this guy, Syd, in the band. The story was always, oh, he went mad and left the group. That's all we knew about him.
For decades, the story of Syd Barrett's life after Pink Floyd has been one of quiet, chosen seclusion. It's the story of a brilliant mind who simply walked away from the world he helped create. But what if that silence wasn't the whole story? What if it was broken? Because, hidden away in the lore, there are whispers of lost recordings, a mythical box of tapes known to die-hard fans as the Holy Barrett Grail, said to hold his final creative sparks. This is the story of the hunt for those tapes, a search that uncovers a frustratingly tragic mystery with a trail that leads to the most unlikely person, a hotel employee who may have held and then lost Syd Barrett's final masterpieces. Before the massive concepts, the stadiums, and the giant inflatable pigs, there was just Syd. Roger Keith, Syd Barrett was the whimsical, brilliant architect of Pink Floyd's sound. He was the main songwriter, the lead guitarist, and the frontman who painted pictures with surreal, childlike lyrics and fractured, otherworldly melodies. Songs like Arnold Lane and See Emily Play, not to mention their entire game-changing debut album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, were born from his singular vision. He wasn't just in the band, he was the creative engine of Britain's entire psychedelic movement. But you know the old saying, the light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. By 1968, Syd's increasingly erratic behavior, fueled by crushing pressure and heavy psychedelic drug use, made his place in the band impossible to maintain. He was gently and tragically pushed out of the very band he founded. He went on to release 2 solo albums, The Madcap Laughs and Barrett, both beautifully chaotic and deeply moving. These records are astonishing documents of a mind in flux, where moments of pure genius sit right next to heartbreaking vulnerability. The sessions were so raw that producers often left in Syd's false starts and studio chatter, capturing the unfiltered reality of his state. And then, after 1972, he mostly just vanished. His last real interview was in 1971. His final, haunting visit to his old bandmates was in 1975, when he wandered into the Abbey Road sessions for Wish You Were Here, an album that was, in large part, about him. Overweight, with a shaved head and eyebrows, he was at first unrecognizable to them. After that, Syd Barrett left public life for good. And it's this profound silence that makes the whispers of any undiscovered recordings so powerful. Now, the idea of lost Syd Barrett music isn't just a fan fantasy. It's rooted in tantalizing glimpses into the EMI vaults. For years, 2 songs in particular, Scream Thy Last Scream and Vegetable Man, were the stuff of legend. Recorded in 1967, they were deemed too dark and unsettling by the label and were locked away. They were raw, autobiographical snapshots of Syd's deteriorating mental state, and for decades they only existed on grainy bootlegs passed around like forbidden artifacts. Over the years, some official treasures were finally dug up. The 1988 compilation Opal was a landmark release, the first official collection of outtakes and alternate versions from his 1968 to 1970 solo sessions. Later box sets like Crazy Diamond unearthed even more session tapes, showing the painstaking and sometimes difficult process behind his work. These releases proved there was a wealth of material left behind. But these were the organized, curated glimpses into the archive. They were the recordings that had been tracked, logged, and safely stored. The real mystery is in what was never logged at all. What about the final chapter? What happened right before the silence became permanent? This brings us to August 1974. After a new wave of interest in his work, EMI managed to coax Syd back to Abbey Road Studios to try and record a 3rd solo album. For 3 days, with producer Peter Jenner, Syd tried to record. It just wasn't there. The sessions were abortive, a faint echo of his former creative self. The engineer, John Leckie, remembered Syd looking vacant, and said it became obvious pretty quickly that he just didn't want to be there. He laid down 11 instrumental tracks, mostly bluesy, disjointed rhythm ideas. Only one had a real title: If You Go, Don't Be Slow. The others were given names by bootleggers over the years that hint at their fragmented nature. Chukka Chukka, Chug Chug, Fast Boogie, Slow Boogie. Listening to the bootlegs of these sessions is a heartbreaking experience. You can hear a musician fumbling for a spark, but the connections just aren't firing. After 3 days, the sessions were abandoned. And for all official purposes, that was the end of Syd Barrett's recording career. But the legend doesn't stop there. After these failed sessions, Syd retreated to a London hotel. And this is where the central, most agonizing part of the mystery begins. As the story goes, at some point during his stay, Syd gathered a box of his tapes and just gave them away to a hotel employee. This box, which fans have dubbed the Holy Barrett Grail, could have had anything in it. Demos from the 74 sessions, early versions of songs no one has ever heard, maybe even the rumoured lyrical version of If You Go, Don't Be Slow. Or perhaps he'd just taped over them with football matches. No one knows, because this is where the story takes its most infuriating turn. The hotel employee, this anonymous custodian of Syd's potential last masterpieces, took the box of tapes and headed home. And somewhere on that journey, he lost them. He just forgot the box, leaving it somewhere along the way. A box of tapes containing the last echoes of one of rock music's most brilliant minds, gone because of a simple moment of forgetfulness. The sheer, mundane tragedy of it is almost too much to bear. There was no corporate vault, no artistic battle, no studio fire, just a simple, human mistake. For decades, fans have obsessed over this story. Who was this employee? Did he have any clue what he was carrying? Did he ever realize what he'd lost? The trail goes completely cold. It's a mystery with no resolution, a maddening dead end. This wasn't the only time Syd's tapes went missing. Producer Joe Boyd mentioned that an early demo tape Syd gave him was also lost. But the hotel tapes just feel different. They feel final. They represent the last possible connection to Syd's creative spark before he chose to put it out for good. The Holy Grail wasn't stolen by a crazed fan or locked away by a record label. It was just misplaced. And in that simple, frustrating act, it became the ultimate symbol of the Syd Barrett story, one of profound and irreversible loss. In a strange way, the fact that these recordings are lost is exactly what makes them so powerful. They exist in our imaginations as perfect, unrealized masterpieces. They're the sound of pure potential, untarnished by the difficult reality that we hear in his final sessions. The mystery itself has become part of Syd Barrett's legacy. It fuels the endless fascination with a man who just walked away from it all at the peak of his influence. The search for these tapes is really a search for an answer, for one last word from a voice that went quiet way too soon. The fragments we do have from those 1974 sessions prove that even in his disconnected state, the musical instinct was still there. The tragedy is that he couldn't or wouldn't follow it any further. Instead, he chose a life of quiet anonymity in his hometown of Cambridge, returning to his first love, painting, and guarding his privacy fiercely until he passed away in 2006. The story of Syd Barrett is a puzzle with missing pieces, and maybe that's how it's supposed to be. The Holy Barrett Grail is still out there, a ghost haunting the legacy of Pink Floyd's founder. From legendary but long unreleased tracks like Vegetable Man to the agonizing tale of the misplaced hotel tapes, the search for Syd's final works is a testament to his enduring power. We have the official records, the curated outtakes, and the grainy bootlegs. But the truest final statement from Syd Barrett might be the one we were never meant to hear.